Hi everyone, I'm Mark Medina with the LA Times Lakers blog, staying with the Lakers beat writer Mike Bresnahan. Mike, we're doing a little bit of a change in routine. The Lakers are coming off a 97-94 victory over the Boston Celtics, but normally we do this on center court at Staples Center, but right now Clippers is in town.
I feel like we're in a back alley or something. I can barely see you. I'm sure that the readers and viewers can barely see us, but here we are doing it in these tough work conditions just to get our video out to you viewers, let me tell you.
That's dedication right there.
We're here for them. We serve our readers.
Well, speaking of tough working conditions, I think you saw two teams that are very old, very slow. What do you make of the direction these franchises are going?
Well, I mean, the Lakers are obviously 9 over, unlike the Celtics, who are only 2 over in a pretty weak Eastern Conference. The Lakers obviously have the better future because, Bynum looked fantastic today. 20 points, 14 rebounds. The big shot with 15 seconds left, that little jump hook that kind of rattled around before it went in. The Celtics are in trouble. Let's face it. Right now, they're looking at 7th or 8th in the East, where you don't want to be in that conference because you're playing either Miami or Chicago. If they can get up to 6 in the East, then they get a first-round matchup against Indiana or Philly, one of those untested teams. Right now, you do not want to be the Boston Celtics, let me tell you.
Well, you know what was interesting about tonight's game? Mike Brown and Kobe Bryant both said that in that final timeout. Kobe himself said, "Let me be the decoy." Have you ever seen him do that in your time covering the Lakers?
Yeah, it's not quite time to call it a changing of the guard, but there's no doubt the significance of Kobe going into that timeout with 23 seconds left and saying, "Let's feed Andrew Bynum." Obviously, Bynum's going to love that. He said afterwards it was crazy. He was shocked. Maybe not that word. He was surprised that Kobe would call a play for him, and obviously Kobe delegating a little bit. It's a rarity, but obviously it worked tonight. Maybe it'll happen more in the future.
And how about the significance in terms of, you look at these past few weeks, Kobe Bryant's been scoring at a prolific rate. He still leads the league in scoring. He's been wearing that plastic mask and still scoring astronomical numbers. But then during that road trip against Detroit and Washington, shot selection was a little bit questioned from the public and even Mike Brown in a certain instance. What's the significance of that in that context?
Well, the fact that Mike would kind of poke Kobe and other players too. Mike kind of insinuated it wasn't just Kobe. It was a Meta World Peace. Imagine him taking bad shots. Matt Barnes, who is an energy guy but does occasionally take some bad shots, as well as Kobe. And Brown did say at a video session the very next day he was mistaken. It wasn't quite as bad as he thought as far as the off-kilter shooting. But hey, Kobe's Kobe. He's going to take horrible shots sometimes, and he's going to win games sometimes. And tonight he won a game not by shooting but by delegating, which I think is a really interesting story and really something that we need to keep in mind for the next several weeks. They try to get a first-round home series against a playoff opponent.
Another thing to keep in mind, we saw Meta World Peace tonight play in another great game a week after playing in Miami. Is this a realistic thing to expect them to be able to duplicate on a consistent basis?
Only in the big games. Meta World Peace doesn't care about the Sacramentos, the Golden States, the Charlottes of the world. He's big time. He just cares about Miami, Chicago, obviously, earlier today had a great game against Boston. We can't forget his defense. He held Paul Pierce, I believe it was 4 of 14 shooting. Meta World Peace practically scored as many points as Paul Pierce. That's a stunning revelation, and Meta's defense is really coming along well ever since that one bad game right before the All-Star break against Kevin Durant and Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it looks like Kobe Bryant's wearing the plastic mask, Meta World Peace is wearing the Ron Artest mask.
He's back. I mean, at least today he's back. I know we all said this last Sunday. He played great against Miami, and then he went out and really did nothing offensively on that pretty offensive 3-game trip that the Lakers took. I don't expect him to keep it up, but he looked great today.
And now, obviously, all these developments, including tonight, all with the backdrop of what the Lakers are going to do before that March 15th deadline. On Thursday, the deadline's noon. Do you think that they would need to make a deal before then?
Yeah, they need like a third guard or a third forward. They need someone to come off the bench with some punch. I'm going to go with Michael Beasley. That's my pick. I do not expect Dwight Howard to arrive in 3 days. I do not expect Darren Williams to arrive on Thursday. I think it'll be a Michael Beasley type of player, if not Michael Beasley himself. I mean, this guy could even start eventually if Meta goes on one of his funks once again, even though he just said some very nice things about him. But I'm gonna say Beasley is the type of player that the Lakers need, and he might be the player that they get on Thursday.
Right, and I know, if you read the LA Times sports section, Mike always has a lot of scoops. You've reported on a number of occasions as far as the thought process from the front office as far as whether or not they would deal Pau Gasol. You've reported a bunch of times. That's not going to happen unless they can get a young, athletic guard. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, they do not want to give Pau Gasol away. They don't want 2 50-cent players for a dollar player. And they're just going to hold on to him. Obviously, with the trade deadline being this late in the season, if they don't like what happens over the playoff run, however long or short it might be, they can try it again in May or June, and obviously in July to try to get rid of Pau Gasol and get in someone different. But for now, I just sense no momentum as far as Pau Gasol leaving or a Dwight Howard or a Darren Williams arriving here in a Laker uniform.
And lastly, Mike, this hasn't just been a busy time for the Lakers front office. It's been a busy time for you, I'm sure, just covering all this. And I'm sure you've been getting a lot of trade proposals from Laker fans. What's been the most interesting ones that you've got?
Well, nothing specifically, but everybody wants to trade. I know I said 2 50-cent players. People want to trade 4 quarters for $1. They're saying, why don't the Lakers trade Meta World Peace and Luke Walton and Devin Ebanks, who actually has some trade value because at least he's young, and Steve Blake, without realizing that these players have more years on their contracts than other teams are comfortable with. Obviously, their play on the court this year has been spotty, to be kind. So, just everyone thinks the Lakers should get rid of everyone at the end of the bench for someone who's going to be their sixth man.
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard. And it's just not going to happen. I think Laker fans, the Pau Gasol trade was obviously a huge occasion for this franchise, but it also kind of hurt in only one way, because now every Laker fan thinks that the Lakers can just snap their fingers and the next Pau Gasol will come rolling into town. They got lucky 4.5 years ago, and there's no guarantee it will happen again by Thursday or during the offseason.
Those are the thoughts. My colleague Mike Bresnahan, I'm Mark Medina. Thanks a lot for watching.